Hi everyone, Lee again here from Next Level Mental Health, and I've had ADHD my whole life. I've only just realised that a lot of my conditions were due to ADHD, and I've been thinking about this, and when I was a child and even now, one of the main issues with ADHD is sleep. Some people with ADHD sleep okay, but the majority of us, I would say, do have trouble sleeping most of our lives. And if you do have trouble sleeping and you've struggled most of your life with this, remember that you're not alone. Everybody with ADHD has some kind of issue with sleep. If you don't, you're very, very lucky, okay, because most people do. I want to start with when I was a child, because when I was a child, maybe it's between the ages of 3 and 12, I don't remember much of my childhood, but one thing I do remember is I would hate to go to bed, okay? When my mother said, "It's time to go to bed, Lee," I was like, I didn't want to go to bed, okay, because I just didn't want to sleep. My mind was too active. Even at that age, I was constantly thinking, okay, which is part of ADHD. And I would go to bed and I wouldn't be able to sleep. I'd be bored all the time. When I was a child, I was bored constantly, which is another thing about ADHD. You get very bored when you're a child. But I would hate to go to bed. I would go to bed and I wouldn't be able to sleep for hours. Eventually, I'd fall asleep because I was a child. But as I got older into my teens, this got even worse, because obviously when you start school's a very big responsibility, and it's very hard for someone with ADHD to deal with all the kind of stresses school puts on you, and the stresses of mixing with lots of other people who don't necessarily have ADHD, and they don't quite understand you and you don't understand them, so you have to kind of put on this act so that you do fit in. Okay, this happens for many years for most people, especially for me anyway. And during school times was probably my worst time for sleep. I literally had insomnia for about 8 to 10 years, like non-stop. My mind would never stop thinking, worrying about this homework we've been given that I couldn't do because I didn't understand homework, worrying about what this other child said to another child, or what someone said to me, worrying about if people understand us or not because I didn't understand them. All these worries and these stresses from all the work from school, which is the hardest time in somebody's life with ADHD usually. Okay, it's usually school. Work's quite a challenge as well, but I'll get into that on another video. But during school, my insomnia was crazy. Like, I literally couldn't sleep. I would get maybe 4 hours a night sleep if I was lucky, and I'd be so tired I'd go to school like a zombie. And I remember all the other children in the class literally thought I was on drugs, okay? They thought, they used to say to us, like, "What have you been on, Lee? You're just like a zombie." And I was like, "No, I'm alright." I was just like a pure zombie. And nobody understood why. Even I didn't understand why. I just thought I'm having trouble sleeping. But this had a really big impact on me, because it made us feel more separated to the normal children at school, which ultimately leads to more mental health issues. People with ADHD who don't know about it from an early age are often diagnosed with many different things like depression, anxiety, insomnia. I was given sleeping pills from the doctor. They worked for a couple of days, but then after that they stopped working because the problem with ADHD is you're given a lot of different medications and different diagnoses, but it's not actually the true cause of everything, which is the ADHD, which is the overactive mind, the mind that doesn't stop. So this went on for years. As I got older and I started dating, things like that, I would kind of do anything I could to avoid sleeping in the same bed as someone, because I knew that if I slept in a different bed other than mine, I wouldn't be able to sleep. Because with ADHD, you kind of get comfortable sleeping in the same place, which takes months, by the way, just to get comfortable with that. And once you're comfortable with that, you can eventually sleep. But if somebody said, "Well, can you sleep somewhere else?" it would be very, very hard, and I would do anything I could to avoid sleeping somewhere else. And I remember being in the Cub Scouts when I was younger, and we used to go on Cub Scout Camp, and it was impossible for me to sleep in that environment because my mind was constantly active, and I would see all the other children sleeping so easily, and I would think, how do they do that? And still to this day, I see people fall asleep easy, and I'm thinking, how do they do that? Even when we with ADHD go on an aeroplane, okay, or even coach trips, things like that, and we see people fall asleep on the aeroplane, fall asleep on the coach, we literally don't understand how they can literally do this. We literally don't understand how someone can so easily fall asleep. And we kind of envy it in a way, okay, because it's so hard for us to do it. And this went on for years, guys, like literally years and years. Like most of my life I've had trouble sleeping. Eventually, when I got my own house and I had to buy like a super king size bed, because I'm tall, like I'm 6'2", and sleeping in a small space is quite impossible for me. So I managed to sleep. I managed to eventually work out how to sleep, what the best positions were to sleep in. All this experience of trying my hardest to sleep, I eventually got there in the end, and I managed to sleep. And this involved a lot of work, okay? I had to literally have the right type of mattress, the perfect kind of firmness on the mattress. I prefer firm mattresses rather than soft ones. Feather pillows are a total no. Okay, I cannot deal with feather pillows, because when you put your head on them, to me it's so uncomfortable. Because with ADHD, you kind of feel every little bit of everything. You're so sensitive to where you are and your surroundings and your physical senses that the slightest little thing that's out of place stops you sleeping. I literally went out and bought a pillow which cost about £140 at the time, just for this memory foam pillow, designed by NASA. Okay, like I literally went to those extremes, and when I got that pillow I realised, this is perfect, because it kept cool, it was firm, my head was in exactly the right position, and I managed to sleep for quite a few years after that. So even now, I actually live with my partner at the moment, so I have learned to sleep next to someone now, but that took a long time. Even now I have to have the same pillow. I can't sleep if it's not that pillow. I've got to have a specific amount of space. With my ADHD, if someone's even touching us, it stops us sleeping. So I have to have a specific amount of space. Luckily my partner isn't bothered about this, okay? She's not really a clingy type, so she's fine just going to sleep on her own when it comes to sleeping. And she doesn't necessarily have to touch us or cuddle us all night or anything like that. But even now there's issues with sleep where sometimes I can't get comfortable, and I'm constantly moving about, trying not to wake my partner up. And it is a big struggle in life, guys. But hopefully eventually you do realise how to get comfortable and how to sleep without it affecting anybody else. Okay, you do realise you find ways of doing this. And basically the point of this video is just to like kind of reassure you guys that if you have trouble sleeping and you have ADHD, it's totally normal. Okay, it's totally normal, and it is a big factor of your life. But eventually you'll get there. So I wouldn't worry about it too much. If you're young and you're having trouble sleeping now and you've got insomnia like I did when I was young, just remember, school is the worst time for ADHD, in my opinion. It's the most stressful time, so it is the hardest time to sleep as well. As you get older, you'll leave school, you'll maybe go to college, it'll be a whole different dynamic at college, okay? It's totally not the same. You'll have less pressure, you don't have all these subjects you have to deal with, all these unconscious children who don't have ADHD you have to deal with. People are genuinely a lot more relaxed and a lot nicer when you get to college, so you'll start sleeping a little bit better then. And then when you eventually get a job, you'll probably live on your own or with someone. You'll figure out a comfortable way of sleeping, and you'll probably fix the issue to an extent, okay, for the rest of your life. It's not as bad as when you're a child. But yeah, I just wanted to share that in this video with you guys. I'd be interested to know if any of you guys with ADHD have had similar issues with sleep and what you've done to deal with it. And yeah, I'd be interested in hearing that, guys. But yeah, I'm Lee anyway from Next Level Mental Health. I'll be talking a lot about ADHD in future videos, because I think it's the main condition I've had that's caused a lot of the other mental health conditions I've been diagnosed with. I'll be talking about many different mental health conditions from a personal experience view, not just like counsellors these days because you have to realise counsellors and even some psychiatrists are reading off a textbook which is way out of date. It's not the realistic aspect of mental health. So if you want to follow my channel or subscribe, please do, because I'll be telling people what it's like to deal with these mental health conditions from a personal point of view, with experience, and I'll be going much deeper into the dynamics of mental health conditions to try and help you guys out there to deal with these conditions and know you're not alone. So that's it for this video, guys. Thanks for listening. Please subscribe, leave a comment, and I'll see you guys soon on the next video. Have a nice day.